Let's talk about biscuits and sweets in recovery, shall we? I feel like I'm eating too unhealthy in recovery, and I'm unable to tell whether it's normal to honor cravings by having biscuits and chocolate so often. And then they go on to say they're worried, of course, about BED, which we all are when we start honoring this hunger. First, amazing job. Amazing job eating the biscuits and the chocolate, because that is what will recover you. Your body is asking for that for a reason. Your body is asking for biscuits and chocolate because biscuits and chocolate will recover you quickest and best. Your body can use biscuits and chocolate for energy and repair work. Your body cannot use carrots and salad for repair work. There's not enough there. And in fact, the carrots and the salad and the fruits and the vegetables, they're going to sit in your stomach and ferment because you likely have some level of gastroparesis, a slowed stomach emptying, right? And because your system is working slower, those fruits and vegetables are going to sit longer. They're going to make you bloat. They're going to make you gassy. They're going to make you swell, and they're going to make you in a lot of pain. But the biscuits and the sugars, those highly processed, highly caloric foods, are what your body can use best to process and repair and recover you from this eating disorder quickest. So it is what your body needs. And your body, think how smart is your body to ask for what it really truly needs to recover. Your body is so smart. We just keep getting in the way of it. But how intelligent of your body to know that biscuits and sugar will work best right now to recover you, right? That's why you're craving it. So go ahead and eat the biscuits and the sugar. My phases of biscuits and sugars and sweets lasted months and months and months. Like, I spent months eating nothing but candy bars. First, the dark chocolate candy bars because I was too afraid. First, the sugar-free candy bars, let's be real. Then the dark chocolate with nothing in it. Then the milder candy bars, like just plain Hershey's chocolate. Then I started eating all the candy bars, the Reese's, the Twix, the everything I had been missing. That phase was amazing. Then I went through the ice cream phase, right? Then I went through the pancake phase. Then I went through the cookie phase, right? Every type of cookie known to man. Like, I went through all of these sweet phases. My body was in a deficit. Your body is not only probably in a deficit of biscuits and chocolate, but it's also in a caloric energy deficit. And to get through that, it's going to ask for the most highly caloric, highly palatable, highly processed foods possible. And it's asking for that because that's what's going to help you. Your body is instinctually trying to save your life by asking for these foods. Not only is it safe and wonderful for you to eat them, but it will work to recover you the quickest and the best. And what you will find, it took me probably a year and a half after this phase of the sugars to crave an actual vegetable again. But I remember I didn't want vegetables for so long. That's all I ate. And especially the vegetables that were my safe foods. Like, I did not want those at all. Now, sometimes I crave those again. But it's been years. It was years I didn't crave vegetables. I probably ate enough vegetables for the rest of my life during my eating disorder. My body knows that. My body is smart. Your body is smart, and it's trying to tell you something by sending you this extreme hunger or this craving for chocolate and biscuits. So try to remind yourself of that and eat them. They're delicious, right? They're wonderful. They're repairing your body. It's just what you need to get to the other side. If you follow those cravings, you will come out the other side recovered. You will. Hi, it's Recovery Mom. And I want to talk about intuitive eating. And, I don't hear it. For a while, it was a huge fad, intuitive eating. And people were talking about it everywhere. And everybody wanted intuitive eating. And I kind of hear about it here and there. But it's just not so, I think, intense anymore. But let's talk about intuitive eating and eating disorders. Because this human says, I'm in recovery and I feel like I eat so much compared to me previously. I tried to do intuitive eating, but I've lost weight and it's so confusing. And here's what my thoughts about intuitive eating. So when you have an eating disorder and an eating disorder history, you have an evolutionary adaptation to famine. It's like a biological change in your body that other humans without this predisposition to eating disorders don't have, okay? And it is related to feeding and movement and body dysmorphia. Those are the three hallmark changes that happen to us when we have an eating disorder. Therefore, intuitive eating just might not be for us during recovery, when you have an eating disorder, and for a long time after, okay? Because just like this human being said, when you tried intuitive eating, you lost weight. And I don't know about you, but my intuition when I was in recovery was to lose weight. Every fiber of my being wanted to skip meals, not eat, lose weight, choose the lowest calorie option, eat the healthy food, not the junk food, right? That was my intuition. That was coming from my primal being. And that is where that's coming from when we have an eating disorder. And so that's why there's one thing that most people in the eating disorder recovery community tout as one of the things you need to have to recover, and that is that baseline of 6 meals, right? 3 big meals, 3 big snacks, or 6 big meals, right? And the reason is because if we're left to our own devices, if we're left to our own intuitive eating, we would all starve ourselves. That is our intuition when we have an eating disorder. So for me, I really had to stick to that mechanical eating. I had to mechanically eat those 6 times a day and eat more if my body asked for it, which it did for a very long time. But even if I ate, right, all night long with my night eating syndrome, which it sounds like you're very worried because you eat more, right? It says you feel like you eat so much compared to you previously. That's normal. I eat more now than I did previously. That's normal. That is what humans do a lot, right? I definitely eat more now than I used to, and that's okay. I don't judge it anymore. I just eat. Now, me today, fully recovered, do I intuitively eat? Yes. Some days I eat 8 meals, some days 6, some days maybe 4, right? Like every day, some days I snack all day, some days I eat larger meals, right? I just do eat more intuitively now. That said, if I was to get sick, when I had COVID, if I have to have a colonoscopy or an endoscopy and I wouldn't be able to eat for a day, I would be hyper aware of that and plan. I would plan that mechanical eating afterwards. It's not that I would have the thoughts yet, the eating disorder thoughts, but I do know that that is in my chemical makeup. It is in my biological makeup. So I do have to be careful for the rest of my life to always have that baseline when I feel like I need it, okay? So you can intuitively eat when you're fully recovered. I do. Some days I eat 4 times a day, but they're probably very big meals. Some days I might eat all day long snacks. Every day is different. Some days I might eat all vegetables, but some days I might eat all sugar, right? And that's okay. Some people, when they're fully recovered, they find themselves to get into this groove of 3 meals and 3 snacks for the rest of their lives. Just like all humans naturally have this different rhythm with their feeding, so do recovered humans. That said, I am hyper aware that I have the predisposition for an eating disorder. And when I do have conditions in my life arise that might cause me to go into energy deficit, I do have to be very much alert and aware of those and plan to mechanically eat through those times. That said, you should not be intuitively eating. Your intuition, when you have an eating disorder during recovery and until you are fully recovered, your intuition will lead you right back in to an eating disorder, right? Because that is when your eating disorder is expressed, that is what your eating intuition is. Your intuition is leading you incorrectly. And that's why recovery is so hard, because we're having to go against that primal intuition that we have that's telling us to stop feeding and move too much. So I hope that made sense a little bit. And I would stop trying to intuitively eat. Not time for it. In fact, I would just stop attempting to intuitively eat for the rest of your life, because people who intuitively eat aren't consciously intuitively eating. They're just eating, right? So stop labeling it. Get that baseline of eating 6 times a day down to a science. Just do it without any worry or stress. Add food on top of that whenever you are extra hungry, whenever that mental hunger calls for it. That's what will lead you to full recovery, not intuitive eating. Okay? So I hope that helps a little bit. Hi, it's Recovery Mom, and sometimes I think about a video or a question for a while, and other times I just read it and I just pop on. And I just read this, and it says, so I feel hungry, so I eat, but I never feel satisfied until I'm sickly full. Is this extreme hunger? So first, I think one of the things that our eating disorder was something I want to talk about for a moment. One of the things that our eating disorder likes to do is it likes to distract us from eating and recovery by asking loads of questions, right? Like, is this extreme hunger? Should I be eating? Is this mental hunger? Should I be eating? Maybe I'm binging. Maybe I shouldn't eat. Am I gaining too much? Am I at my set point? Am I past my set point? All of the questions tend to be a distraction from just eating and gaining, right? Because every time, and I want you to notice this, every time your brain starts asking you those questions, you put a pause on recovery. Almost all of the time, when humans are asking me these types of questions, I'll say, are you still eating your 6 meals a day? Are you still eating to your extreme hunger? Well, I kind of stopped because I was nervous. Well, I kind of stopped because my brain had these questions. So all of these questions are an attempt of our eating disorder to try to get us to stop eating enough, stop listening to our hunger, stop doing what we need to do to recover. Okay? So now let's talk about this specific feeling, because I know this feeling all too well. I absolutely felt this way, as do many, 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 many humans. And in fact, someone right under this comment was like, I feel this. I feel this. It's very, very common. And so it's normal, because when you have this extreme hunger, which you do, obviously, right? Because you're eating, you get hungry, you eat something, it's not satisfying because your brain and your body wants more. There's a deficit to be filled. There's repair work to be done. And because of that, your body's asking for all the food. It's afraid you're going to restrict again. It's afraid you're going to stop feeding it all the food. So it's going to ask for as much as it possibly can now in an attempt to save itself from the restriction that it thinks is going to come, which probably usually comes, right? Do you eat all the food until you're sick, and then do you do it again? Or do you eat all the food until you're sick and then you restrict? Because when you restrict after that, your brain is like, see, I knew they were going to restrict. I knew it. So now we better ask for even more food next time they start eating. Now we better ask for double, which is going to make you double sick, which is going to make you restrict again after, which is going to perpetuate the cycle. What you have to do is, even though you eat until you're so sick, I can remember, and I talk about this sometimes, I remember getting this. In my recovery, I was always terrified of any snacky food, right? Because you eat forever. So I remember starting with like just air. I had to get a popcorn maker because it had to be air popped, and it had to be like nothing on it, not even salt. And then they would have a little tiny bit of that with my safe spinach or whatever. Pretty soon I was having that with like vegetable chips. Then I was mixing like 3/4 popcorn, 1/4 vegetable chips. And then pretty soon the ratio changed. And then pretty soon I could add like actual Cheetos or Doritos in, just like 2 Doritos. And then pretty soon I could add more. And then pretty soon I could portion myself some Doritos in a bowl. Well, then pretty soon I worked myself up, and I've said this many times, it took me 3 years to recover because all these steps were long. Pretty soon I had myself with a bag of Doritos on the couch, because eventually the goal is to be able to eat whatever you want when you want. So instead of portioning out the Doritos, I sat there with a family-sized bag of Doritos and I ate the entire bag. I opened it, I ate it. I didn't think I was going to eat it. My brain was like, it's time. You can sit with a family-sized bag of Doritos. You're just going to eat like what you would normally portion in a bowl. I ate the whole bag because I had extreme hunger and I felt so sick. I felt so sick. My brain was still hungry and I went in and I kept eating. But I felt sick. I felt nauseous. It was a yucky feeling. However, the old me, right, that was bouncing back and forth into like eating and then restriction and then eating and restriction, would have restricted after that full-size bag, family-size bag of Doritos. But I knew if I got sick after that family-sized bag of Doritos and my brain wanted something else, or my next meal time came and I restricted, my brain was going to say, see, I knew she was going to restrict after that family-sized bag of Doritos. Next time we need to ask for 2 family-sized bags of Doritos. But instead I got up and I ate. And I think that day I ate like a half gallon of ice cream after that. Or like I might have went out to make, I don't remember what I had, but I know I got up, felt really sick, and I still ate. Excuse me. Also, sweet tea from McDonald's is my vibe right now. It's so good. It is so sweet. I love it. Anyway, all that to say, it is normal. It is extreme hunger. It is mental hunger. It is all that mixed up. And do we even need to label it? We don't need to label it, because all humans eat until they feel sick sometimes. They might do it on Christmas. They might do it at a birthday party. They might do it in a pub with friends. They might do it on Thanksgiving. It's a normal thing that all humans do. But it just freaks us out because we have an eating disorder and we're afraid that if we open the floodgates, we're going to eat forever, right? Or we start restricting after, which perpetuates that cycle. How to get out of this? How to start feeling satisfied. Now I have a normal size bowl of Doritos, sometimes smaller, sometimes larger, but I feel satisfied. I don't think I could eat a family bag of Doritos right now. Doesn't sound appealing. I wouldn't want to, right? And that's because I've eaten enough family-sized bags of Doritos that my body knows it's safe. My body can trust me to give it Doritos whenever it wants Doritos. So that's the trick. If you eat until you feel sick sometimes, you still have to eat your next meal. You still have to eat your next snack. If your brain asks for more, you feed it. And eventually your brain and your body will trust you and it will calm down, okay? That's how that works. I hope this makes sense. This was a really long video, but have a good day, guys. Hey, I want to talk to you very specifically and very quickly because actually I have to be to work in like 3 minutes. So we're going to try to make this 3 minutes, but I can never say anything in less than 3 minutes. So let's give it a go. Hi. I recovered more than the weight I lost and now everybody's telling me to diet again and I feel lost and shame. What should I do? This is common. We live in a world of diet culture. Everybody's dieting. Everybody thinks thinner is better, right? So you have got to figure out how you're going to stay recovered for you, okay? You have got to put your blinders on. You cannot, obviously, these people do not understand eating disorders. If they understood eating disorders, they would know asking you to lose weight or to restrict in any manner would spark that eating disorder back again and you would be relapsed in no time. That's how that works. So you have got to figure out how you're going to navigate your life with humans like that in it. You can talk to them. You can say, look, that is not helping me. If I restrict or try to lose weight, I will go right back down that rabbit hole. That is how that works. You can just openly tell them that. If they're not the kind of humans you can do that with, you're just going to have to learn how to hear it and ignore it. Because you have an eating disorder. Much like someone with like heart disease might have to stay away from salty foods, or somebody with diabetes might have to stay away from sugars of certain sorts at certain times, right? You have an eating disorder, and what that means is you have to eat early, you have to eat often, you have to eat enough, you have to accept your set point where it lands, and you can never again diet or restrict in any way. Those are now the rules for you. You are not everybody. You don't get to intermittent fast. You don't get to keto. You don't get to do all those diet fads, those juice fasts. You don't get to skip meals. You don't get to do that. You have a condition, a disease, whatever helps you understand it, a mental illness. Everybody calls it something different, right? I call it a biological adaptation to famine. You might want to call it a disease. Someone else might want to call it a mental illness. I really don't give a fuck what you call it, because it can be personal to you. It's what's going to help you survive and navigate this world of diet culture so that you can stay recovered. Okay, so it's what's going to help you. When you figure out what you want to call it, you can either call those people out or you don't. And if you don't, you have to silently figure out how you're going to stay recovered. For me, for different humans, I did it in different ways, right? When I was at work, sometimes, if somebody would say that, oh, I shouldn't have any more chips, I'm going to have to run later, I would just be like, I ate a bag of chips last night on the couch all by myself. Like, I would just say it. And I would say it to normalize it for myself. And then I would also say it because I knew everybody else in the room was thinking that that was a crock of shit and that that was very disordered, and that I was saying it, hopefully, so it could resonate with everybody else, right? But also, sometimes I didn't have the strength or the energy to say it. And if somebody else would say, I should lose weight, or maybe dieting is good, or what about whole foods, or I shouldn't be eating all this processed, Sour Patch Kids that I love, then I can either go into a diatribe about how my body needs this food because Sour Patch Kids are the best food for my personal body. You can choose your path. I can choose mine. Or I can just let them say what they're going to say and say no thank you, or just say, oh, okay, I'll consider that, and then not consider that, right? But you have to figure out what's going to help you. I know it's triggering. I know it's difficult because I also grew up in a family filled with diet culture where all we discussed around the table was who gained or lost weight. Right? Where we didn't have smart and not smart family members. It was always like, who was the fat sister and the skinny sister? This is how my family discussed humans my entire childhood. So I get it. I understand. But also there comes a time when you've just got to make your path, because when you do, and you stand in that, like I stand in that now. And when I do that, the people around you will find strength in you. They will find strength in you. Because you're going to be the one that's doing what they wish they could do. They just don't have the strength to do it because they're wrapped up in diet culture. So maybe you can be the leader, right? You can teach them what it means to listen to your body and stand in your own set point weight. Because that's where the real freedom comes in, right? That's where really living happens. Really living doesn't happen restricting and consumed with food. Really living happens when we're at our set point weight. So, goddamn, my 3 minutes turned into 5. I gotta go. Okay, love you. Bye.